those of you who don't know, I'm Dina Gentili. I am the president of Impact. We had a fantastic opening weekend with some just amazing soccer, also some heartwarming tributes for 9/11. I hope all of you had a chance to buy some merchandise to support us while you're walking around school, and I hope everyone had a great start to school, actually. So this is one of our first guest speakers for the fall 2021 season. Kim Penney is an expert in the college search process. She works with general students who are just aiming to go to college without a connection to soccer, and then also works with athletes as well as they find their pathway through the college journey. So Kim is a legendary coach, Hall of Famer, a very good friend of mine, and I know she'll go on to talk a little bit about her services. I also am kind of like, I am an admissions coach for one-on-one college consulting, so I have fully subscribed to the mission of one-on-one, and her program meshes very well with everything that we're doing here with Impact in terms of being more than a lead, looking at the total person, legacy building, and kind of looking at where are we today as young people, middle school, high school, and what do we need to do? What are the little pieces of the puzzle that we can put in place today to help us when we're ready to be on that college journey? So you'll always hear from me, so I'm gonna pass it over to Kim Penney, one-on-one college consulting. And as she's going through her talk, just jot down some questions. I will monitor the chat, and you can also unmute yourselves and when we take some questions. So Kim, I'll throw it over to you, and thank you so much for joining Impact tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Welcome everyone. I appreciate you spending time tonight to hear this little talk we're going to be doing about college admissions. And I just wanted to say before we start out, a big thank you to Dr. Dina Gentili for inviting me. She is a good friend of mine. I've known her for many, many years, and we're very fortunate, as are you. I hope that you realize it, that is, she's part of Impact. She's part of one-on-one college consulting as well, like she mentioned, and we're so fortunate to have her as one of our admissions coaches. A little background about what we do. We have about a team of about 10 or 12 people that we have a lot of part-time admissions coaches that run our student athletes and our regular students through the admissions process that we help with. We're independent educational consultants, and we work with student athletes. You know that not everyone's a student athlete, but for the most part, you know, if you're looking to try to play a sport at the next level, there is more that you need to have to do to try to find that best match. A little bit about my background. I played soccer in high school, but I was more of a basketball player. I played soccer, tennis, and basketball at Rigor High School growing up. And then I went on to Tufts University, played basketball there. And the reason I tell you this is because I was a psychology major undergrad, and I had a great experience playing Division III basketball way back when. But then I got my master's degree in guidance counseling, and I went back to be a guidance counselor, and that's when I became a high school basketball coach. And then this is how one-on-one formed, is because of talking to my former athletes about the process and what they needed to do, and being a former guidance counselor, I knew I didn't call students into my office early enough to help the athlete get through the process timely. You know, you do, it's naturally accelerated for the student athlete, whether you be Division III, non-scholarship, non-athletic scholarship player, or Division I or Division II, which is our athletic scholarship level. So we're going to talk a lot about, I'm going to run through a little seminar that I have that I put together and some other talks that I've done over the years. And hopefully, you know, if you have some questions, I'd love to answer them. I'm here as long as you need me to be, but I'll just run through some thoughts that we like to share with our student athletes. And I know some of you are maybe in 7th, 8th grade, which is fine too. Even if you're not in high school yet, it's really good to know this information now so you can prepare. And if you're already a senior, it's never too late, you know. So, and by the way, even if you play club sports and you intend to try to play at the next level, it's really hard, as you probably have heard. I'm not discouraging anyone by any means. I want you to go for it, obviously. But if you don't land a varsity roster spot in college, don't be, you know, too upset because there's so many other opportunities to play. We have kids we work with all the time that when they come to us and they describe a college, they're describing a big school, like strong school spirit, want to go to the football games, paint my face in, and then, but they can't play at that level perhaps, but they could play club or intramural soccer. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. So just know that even if you don't play on a varsity team, at the next level, you can still participate in the sport that you love. So just keep that in mind and don't let that sport rule the whole process. You know, if you find yourself getting feedback that you can maybe play, maybe not play, just don't limit yourself. You can have a mixed list. Like we tell our kids all the time, you can have some D1s on there, play club, intramural, and then have some maybe D2s, D3s, maybe you could play varsity. So you don't have to decide now, and that's what's so cool about it. So, all right, I'm gonna share my screen. Hopefully you guys can see this. Can you guys see this? We're good? Yes?
Yes, good.
Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna go through some tips. You know, what we like to teach our kids is to turn the recruiting process inside out. Honestly, you got to own it. You know, if you're a competitor, you're going to want to do that. And we like to work with kids that want to be in control of their own process, almost like you're the captain of your recruiting process, right? There are a lot of resources out there, and there are companies out there that will say, I'll do it for you. We help guide our students. We're not an athletic recruiting service. You know, we know the athletic recruiting process, and I'm going to tell you some information tonight, but we don't do it for our kids. We have our kids do it themselves. And honestly, all of our coaching friends that are in college love it. You know, they love hearing directly from the student athlete. It just means a lot more, you know, so we help you help yourself. You know, so I'm going to impart some hopefully some good advice that you guys can take and run with after tonight. So you want to conduct a successful college search. We're going to talk about how to do that. Utilize effective self-marketing techniques. That's so important. We're going to talk about that. Understanding the athletic admissions procedures and the timelines, and understanding the NCAA rules and requirements for your sport. We're not going to get into the details of that per se for soccer. They change a little bit, you know, the dates and what is a contact period and what is a dead period, you know, things like that. Some college coaches can't come and see you at certain times, and sometimes they can. So it's important to stay abreast of all the different contact period times for your sport and how to target your best fit, right? So we're going to talk about all that. So when we work with students, we work with all of our student athletes and our students the same way. We start out the same way. The college search service is very important. You know, there's a college application service too. We have two distinct services, but the college search service really is, I think, the most important, right? Like, you can apply to any college you want, but if you don't have the right list, like, what is the point, right? So we really start with self-reflection. A lot of us in the office are MBTI certified practitioners, which is the Myers-Briggs type indicator. We're not going to get too in depth on that, but it's a personality inventory. And when I coached high school basketball, I had all the kids on my team take this personality inventory. Super helpful to know like how they view the world, how they made decisions, how best to interact with them or communicate with them, how they like to, you know, receive their information. So when I had my practice, I knew like, oh, I have to switch up this, you know, the drills pretty quickly, have this kid stay with me and, or whatever, you know. So it's important to have you be self-aware. That's where we start the search. What's my personality type? What majors naturally fit what I'm pretty good at, right? What I might be naturally good at. That's really key to start there. And then you can job shadow, maybe volunteer in certain areas that might be of interest to you, and you might not ever have imagined. You know, some of the kids we work with, we will say like, hey, your brain type, personality type came back to be, you might be really good in architecture. And some kids are like, I had no idea. I've never taken a class in that. I've heard of it, obviously, but I don't know much about it. And then they do a job shadow, and then they come back like, oh, I love it. You know, whatever it is, you know, so that's, college is too expensive, you guys, to like go and just figure it out when you get there. Not that we make you have to pick a major, but it's really, really important if you do this on your own to really start there. Take the soccer out of it. I know that sounds weird because you're probably super competitive, which is awesome. And I love that. But just take it out. Take the soccer out. Don't let that, you know, skew anything. Get the pure school that fits for what you want to study, because you're going to be paying most likely for a 4-year degree, and you want to be able to do something with that 4-year degree when you're done. All right. So really important to really start with the academic fit first. Social feel of the campus, student body, you want to think about, I want big, small, country, city, urban campus. Do I want really big school spirit? Like when I went to Tufts, it was so funny, you guys. At Rigor High School, the whole town came and watched us. We made the state tournament and it was like this big deal. And I go off to college, I'm like, oh, it's going to be great. Nobody even came to the games. I know that sounds so bad, but back then, now they're really, really good, Tufts women's basketball, but everyone was studying. They're like, oh yeah, basketball, So just know, like, you have to do some research if that's what you want, or if that's okay. But if, the sports isn't a big, huge deal at the next level where you go, and that's not a driver for you, then that's good. But just understand, the social fit of the campus is just as important as being able to play, financial fit, obviously, for family. Again, there are some schools out there. I have two sons. One plays baseball at Notre Dame. The other one plays lacrosse at Clarkson. So I have a Division I kid and a Division III kid. The Division I kid gets less money. He's on an athletic scholarship than the Division III kid who gets more money being on a merit academic scholarship. Super important to know. People just hear, oh, you play in Division I, you think it's going to be full ride, and sometimes it isn't, so just know that. So understanding the financial fit for your family, and we'll get into Division III, and a lot of these college coaches at Division III level, they don't award any athletic aid, but they sometimes say to you, if you want a roster spot, you have to commit early and you have to apply early decision, which is binding. Make sure your family understands that commitment. It's like buying something before committing to buying something before you know how much it costs, right? And so there are things that you can do to find out how much that will cost before you sign an agreement that says you're going to go, right? So financial fit, super important, obviously. And the athletic fit, there is a reason that is last. And I know that sounds backwards, but really it's the broken leg test. I hate to say that, but you want to pick the school that best fits you academically, socially, financially, the whole 9 yards, and then as an athlete. Because hopefully, even though you're high level athletes now, and hopefully you still stay that way, our philosophy at one-on-one is the sport does not define who you are. If you, God forbid, go to that college, whichever one you decide to go to, and you break your leg, is that the school that you want to be at if you couldn't play your sport? I know that sounds morbid, but you got to think about this, right? Because it's so expensive. So don't just let the ball rule the process. I can't stress that enough. Don't worry about where your friends are going. Worry, like the word isn't worry. Concern yourself with what it is that you might want to study. What is your personality? What are your social interests at the school? And then everything falls into place, right? So just stay committed to you, because everyone is different. And it's important that you own it for yourself and nobody else. All right. All right. So it's naturally accelerated. Never too early to begin the research. Grade 9 kids coming in, understand that every year of your high school transcript counts, right? So if you're starting this process now and you're a junior, you're like, oh man, I got a few C's. It's okay. It's fine. C's are fine. But you want to try to get A's and B's if you can in the courses that you're taking, and you want to try to take the highest level classes that you can take. The course rigor is really important. When you apply to college, these colleges are going to see what you take. If you're getting all A's in college prep classes, you maybe should be bumping up to honors level, or even maybe taking an AP class. Not to say that you should be getting B's, but like if you're getting A's and you're not being challenged, you guys are athletes, you know it. When you do a sprint, if you can run faster than that, if you gave it your all, give it your all in the classroom. Because I'll tell you now, college coaches love kids who compete in the classroom, because it's less work for them to have to get you in. Right? Because college coaches, that's the thing. We're going to talk about that in a second, using your sport to help with leverage to get into the best school you can get academically. College coaches love to help kids that have already helped themselves in the classroom. So if you're a younger kid on this call tonight, just know you want to kill it in the classroom. Best you can. Do the very, very, very best you can in every class. All right? Very important.
Kim,
When you're younger,
can I
yes.
just add one thing for our, 7th and 8th graders, that you have to also listen to your teachers when they say you should be in this advanced writing class, you should be in this advanced math class as a middle schooler, because very often that will be the pathway to those upper level classes when you're in high school. So it does matter. And taking the easy road if where we are at Impact, we don't take the easy road. We go for the challenges. So when they are saying to you, you're good enough, you really need to listen to that in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, because it does matter for 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Absolutely. Great point. And standardized testing, it's not as demanding now because of COVID. Good things have happened about the standardized test. A lot of the schools are test optional now. There are some states that are not test optional for their public schools. In Florida and Georgia, they still require them. But for the most part, most schools are allowing you not to send the test if you don't want to, right? But with that said, it's still important. All of the students we work with, we still have them go through the process, take the standardized test, whether it be an SAT or an ACT, because that might help with merit aid, which is academic scholarship money. So, you really want to try to do the best you can. Summer activities are important as well. Obviously, you guys are probably very busy playing your sport, but do other things too. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be the captain of every team you're on. You don't have to be the president of every club you're in. Show depth. It's more important to show depth in like few activities than trying to do everything just a little bit, like you're flitting around and they know you're not going deep, right? Because you don't have time. So pick things that you love, that you're passionate about, and don't worry about having an activity sheet that's like 5 pages long. It's so much better to have one that's really meaningful, and that every activity that's on your activity sheet or resume means something to you. Grade 10 is an ideal time to start researching and visiting colleges and contacting college coaches. Again, if you're past grade 10 and you haven't started, it's okay. We get the question all the time, when should I start? I love to say, just be a freshman, get used to high school. Don't worry about college at this point. You just started high school, assimilate to that and do the best you can, get into the routine of high school. And then grade 10 is a good time because you have a 1 year of high school under your belt. And then you can start looking around and be like, what is it that I might want to do, right? What is it that I might want to study first and foremost, like we said, and then I might want to go to some camps. I want it more so for you to try on them, right? Go to some ID clinics in the summer, identify some schools you might be considering that you might want to look into more, and see if you can play. We did that with my kids, go to this camp, see if you can even play at that level if you don't know, right? So it's good to get your feet wet, grade 10, have some coaches get on their radar of schools that you have identified that you might be potential matches for you. Grade 10, grade 11, then you get into it. You got to take the standardized tests. If you don't have to, but you should, in my opinion. Register with the NCAA. If you are hoping to play Division I or Division II schools on your list that offer athletic scholarship money, you need to be registered with the NCAA. It's the Eligibility Center. As a process, it's not hard, but you have to get it. You have to register. I believe it's like 85, maybe $90 now. And you need to be in that system for a college coach to be able to continue recruiting you. They need to know that you're academically eligible to be recruited. So you'll make the eligibility, don't worry, but just know that you need to have that 10-digit ID number, and that should be something that you pass on to the college coaches once you have it. And then once you go to some of these camps, it's always so great to get the feedback. For years, we have kids come back and be like, they started early enough to get the great feedback that could have knocked them down, could have said like, this kid isn't good, she's not there yet. She's not quick enough. She's not strong enough, whatever it is, the feedback is. But if you're a competitor and you take that to heart and you know what you need to work on, you come back the next summer and blow their socks off, right? That's what you want to do. So you want to look at these opportunities when you start early to say, what is it that I have to improve upon in order to get at that level to be able to play at college? So take everything constructively, all right, to get better. And you can contact coaches directly. They might, get back to you if they can and receive, to get the feedback. That's why it's great to go to ID clinics of the schools that you're interested in, because they can talk to you, get to know you as a student athlete, beyond just watching you play at a tournament. And sometimes they can't talk to you at those tournaments. There's rules. But you're on their campus, a lot of times they will, all right? Grade 12, you want to submit your college apps in the fall. If you are a senior right now, you're in it. And then if you're going to play, obviously, you have to sign the national letter of intent if you're on a scholarship at the scholarship level. And just make sure before you sign that letter of intent, if you are at that level, that you read it, that you understand what's involved, if books are going to be included in what they're giving you, and just read the fine details. It's really important to do that. you have any questions right now? Or do you want me to just keep going and then we questions at the end? Yes.
Yeah, someone had a question. She is in 12th grade now, has not registered with the NCAA. Is it too late?
No, never too late. However, I should have prefaced this. If you're just looking at Division III schools, you do not have to do it. When you go to Eligibility Center, and it does say Division III athletes can create an account. You can, but it's not something that's necessary for you to play at the Division III level because there's no athletic aid being offered. Okay, so if your list of schools include Division I or Division II schools, even if you might be a walk-on, you do have to do the the Eligibility Center. Okay, does that answer the question? We're good? All right.
I'm going to actually put the link in the chat for everyone to grab.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, just a real quick rundown of college admissions policies. Every school is different. Every school has different deadlines. Every school offers different policies, and it's important that you understand just like the big, concepts, I guess I should say. So early action versus early decision. We always get this question. Which one is binding? Okay, D is for definite. Decision, early decision means definite. If you can only do one school ED at a time, and when I say at a time, it's usually just one school, right? So there are some schools that have early decision round 1 and early decision round 2. So for instance, if you did an early decision round 1, if you got accepted, you have to go to that school. So you wouldn't do that unless you did your homework. My family can afford it. Based on what we are getting back for the early financial read too, which you can do, and say you get in, then you withdraw your applications from all the other schools. Under an ED policy, you have to sign an ED agreement. Your parents have to sign, your guidance counselor has to sign. You are going to that school if you get accepted. So you would not do ED unless you knew, looking at your list, that that's the #1 school. All right. So say you don't get in ED, say you do ED1. You don't get accepted, you get deferred to regular decision, which is usually later on in like January. So ED, early decision, the early applicant deadline admissions policies are usually in November 1st, November 15th, around that area, right? Say you get deferred to regular decision, which is like January or February, then you become a free agent again. That's what happened to me. I applied to a school early. I didn't get accepted early. I got deferred. And then I applied to Tufts ED round 2, ED2, and it was binding. So I got in and I had to withdraw my applications from all of the schools. I never knew if I got into those other schools, but if you know that that's your #1, it's okay. So understand D for definite. Early action is awesome. If you are applying to colleges and the college coach is not really pressuring you to commit under an early decision policy, and some schools don't even have early decision. Like I don't believe WPI does, or MIT doesn't have early decision. They only have early action. So it's not binding. A for almost. You can apply early action. You don't have to go, even if you get in. But if you're an athlete, most likely the coach is going to want to wrap it up, right? They want to know, like, are you coming or not? So am I done recruiting your position? Are you taking that roster spot or not? So typically you do need to commit if you're at that level where the coach needs to know. If you're a walk-on, if you want to just see how it goes and you're not at that level where they're offering you a spot, if you have any schools that have early action, highly recommend doing that. Unless you're a student that really struggled the first 3 years of high school, and you really want your first quarter and second quarter grades of your senior year to be considered in the process, then maybe you would wait to do regular decision because it's a little bit later. But for the most part, early action is the best because you find out before the holidays if you get accepted, and you don't have to go. And then you have more time to go visit and see if that's the school for you. May 1st is the deadline to let the colleges know if you're coming. Just so you know, that's the only uniform deadline in this whole process. You have to let the colleges know by May 1st. Again, athletes, you're never going to go till that far. The coach is going to ask you earlier to commit. And then there's rolling. Just rolling is easy. You can make it like early action. Rolling just means when you apply, it rolls in and rolls back out. So 6 to 8 weeks later, they let you know if you got accepted. We have a lot of kids looking at Clemson and they're rolling, but you got to know the policies because you have to use it to your advantage, right? So it says December 1st is the deadline to apply for early action, whatever. But we know that it's rolling. So you can do it earlier than December 1st and get that answer even before December 1st if you do it early enough. So every year, August 1st, the common application opens and goes live for the next admission cycle. So if you get your ducks in a row and you know your college list, you should can apply in right now. We're having kids apply, so it's early. And then regular decision is just regular decision. You apply January or February, whatever the regular decision deadline is, you don't find out until March. And so, again, if you have early action, it'd be awesome. What student athletes can expect, we just talked about a little bit. They're going to ask you to commit earlier, so you probably won't get to that late decision deadline by, May 1st deadline. You're going to have to notify them earlier. Okay. All right, this is a good slide. I love this slide. So there you are in the middle. You guys, smack dab in the middle, right? You're probably feeling like you're being pulled in a lot of directions. Just remember, this is your process. You own it. It's yours. There are people in this process trying to help you. Do not be swayed by one more than another, right? I mean, obviously you get your family and your friends, obviously your family, your parents. So it's a family decision. In my opinion, it's a family decision. They're helping pay for it. Most likely they should be in on what's going on, right? Then you've got your club coaches, you got your high school coaches. Very important. They might give you a list, or they might want to help you, but they might not know what you want to study. They might be giving you a list of schools that might be kind of easy for you academically, or maybe too hard for you academically. So just say thank you so much, but just take it and then be able to just know everything you get, all the information you get from everybody that's surrounding you and loves you, wants to help you. You have to filter it and kind of piece it together. Okay, it's your process. You need to know that, yeah, your club coach might be directing you to this one school because they need your position, but don't settle academically. Maybe that school doesn't offer what you want to study. Maybe that school's super easy for you and you want to, go for a harder school, a more selective school for how hard you've been working in the classroom. Don't let that ball rule the process, and just say thank you so much, coach, and just understand, manage it yourself in terms of all the information together, because it has to be fit together. And then you get your counselor and your consultant. So your guidance counselor, I told you guys, I was one. They don't have time, especially at public high school. They're doing schedules right now. Some schedules are messed up, and they're doing, I don't know, lots of different things. Lunch duty, they got a lot of things going on. Emotional, social help with people, right? Putting out fires. And then the college thing always kind of gets on the back burner, unless you're in a private school. They just have a college counselor that specifically just helps with college. That doesn't happen too much, right? So again, your counselor might say to you, yeah, that school's way too hard. That's a reach for you. Probably not going to happen. Your counselor doesn't know that you're a star player, and then that coach of that college, you're their #1 recruit. And that coach is probably going to try to help support you in the process, right? And so your guidance counselor doesn't know that because they don't understand the sports piece of it, right? So again, you have to understand how this all works. Again, thank them. Thank you so much, but just don't let them defeat you. I had a kid who came to me one time and she's like, oh, my counselor told me not to bother. I go, no. No, the coach likes you. You need to go for it. See, let's have that college coach tell us whether or not they can help you with the process. Okay, they can help support you. And you got people like us, Dina and myself, consultants, who understand the whole pie, right? And they just kind of help manage it. It's almost like project management of this whole thing. And you've got the college coaches. Now, understand the college coaches mean well, but they cast a wide net too. They're all telling people, oh yeah, no, we're interested in you. Not that they're lying. It's just that they have to line up their A recruit and their B recruit and their C recruit, because they don't know if their A recruit's going to say yes to them. They have to have the backup, and then they have to have a backup to the backup, right? So they're casting a wide net. So they might say to you in their feedback after an ID camp, and they're honest, they might say, yeah, you can play in our league. And then the kid hears, and you guys might hear, they want me, they love me, which quite rightfully so might seem like they do, but they might not need your position. They might have just said you can play in our league, but I don't need, every year is different. Every roster needs something different, right? COVID has messed it up. You can read rosters, and years past, we told kids to read the roster, see if your position is, graduating, if they have an opening. We don't know yet. My son's a senior at Clarkson University, plays lacrosse. He just told me, my husband and I, he's like, I'm going to stay. I have another year of eligibility. I'm going to stay for my MBA. Okay, so when you read that roster, it looks like Brian Penny's leaving. He's not leaving, but nobody knows, right? So we've been telling our kids, and this is a good tidbit for you, when you're looking at schools, you might, I mean, soccer didn't get affected as much as the spring sports did, but it is something to think about moving forward, because maybe a school that doesn't offer graduate programs might be more real of a way to like understand what the needs are, because those kids have to leave. They're not staying for grad school, right? So just know that college coaches, they mean well, obviously, but they also have their first choice, second choice, third choice, and you have to know where you stand. You know, it's super important to get that feedback and understand, okay, coach, and know what questions to ask. They say, oh, we're interested in you. All right, well, how many people are you looking at in my position? Where do I fall? Am I number one, two? And these are bold questions for you to ask as a student athlete, but you have to go into this process thinking, this is my life. I'm picking a school for the next 4 years. And I'm paying for it, right? Most likely. I want to do my due diligence and figure out what best matches me and what my expectations are for my college experience. Am I going to get that? Right. So I'm all for you asking questions, and college coaches totally respect that when the kid asks the questions, not the parents, right? But we help guide through the whole thing. How to make yourself stand out. An athletic profile. If you know how to make a website, awesome. It doesn't have to be a website, but we find that it's really helpful to have it all in one place, right? College coaches love to just log on to one site, have the kids' transcript there, have the kids' senior year courses listed, have a video, like a link to their video, have their schedule up, easy to access, right? So that's important. An athletic profile, if you can have one, it's very helpful for soccer. In sports like soccer, they're team sports. It's like subjective. The college coach has to watch you play to know your style and to see if it fits in, right? Unlike if you're a swimmer or a track person, there's like a number. They just need to know how fast you are, right? So it's really, you don't have to watch it. So that's important. The skills video, I can't stress enough. College coaches will tell you all the time, everyone looks great in a highlight film. We hate highlight films. That's not true. You need to do a 2 or 3 minute highlight video, in my opinion, just to get the hook. It's like the hook to have them come see you play. They're not going to watch a whole game that you send them if they don't know who you are. Get the skills video, get them hooked, have them see your skills a little bit, right? Have them say, oh, this kid's worth my time to drive an hour to go watch her play live, right? So skills video and a full half or a full game. Coach, what do you think about that? You know best too. I mean, what do you tell your kids?
Well, the great thing about our league is that we will record every single game. So the players have a body of work to pull from, and they just need to edit it out for their highlight film.
Awesome.
And then also just working for one-on-one, I even learned, I thought a highlight piece was enough. But during COVID especially, the college coaches wanted to see more. And so you have to be open to that. So you're lucky to be at Impact where you do have a body of work that you could just pull from. That's an advantage to people who are in middle school that don't have that, and even in high school. So you'll have you'll be able to do two things. And then just one other point for the people who are new to Impact or the younger players is we do host a mixed club event. So we mix our players on a team to simulate what it's like to be at an ID camp at a college. So instead of playing with your teammates, we have you play with other people across the other clubs, and we have invited college coaches to watch our players compete. So you have a little bit of that before you go on to a college campus. There's a little bit of a prep. So it's a full package. But listen, every time Kim Penney speaks, I learn something new, and I know it's a lot of information, but this is the secret sauce. I always say that to Kim. She has the secret sauce of this college process. Jot down some questions as you're going through it, and it's a lot to digest. As you get closer to every year, you'll appreciate more. Okay, this is what I have to do. So it's almost like a checklist as well. I'll let you continue, Kim. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'll try to go faster. I know there's so much to cover. We just love this process. We love working with student athletes like you guys that really care, right? And as an athlete, you're a competitor, right? So I look at it like this is something to compete in. I want to do the best I can in the classroom. I want to do the best I can in my sport, and I want to position myself to have the most opportunities possible, right? So that's basically what this is. This little, just a formula for you to put your best foot forward. So you want to research colleges before contacting a coach. Coaches hate when they get an email. God forbid you're looking at like a Babson, right? Babson offers business. I don't know if you know that, but it's all the majors at Babson College are business related. You would never email the Babson coach and say, I'm interested in majoring in nursing. They'll just laugh at you. They'll be like, oh, they don't even know who we are, But college coaches really, really appreciate and respect the fact, and they read and they remember you when you send a personalized email. It takes a lot of work, but just like what Coach said earlier, we don't take shortcuts. We don't take shortcuts. That's the key to success. You can't just press a button and be good. You have to put the blood, tears, sweat, all that. You got to put it in, put the time in. When you research these colleges, jot down why you like the school. Maybe you visited, maybe you did a tour. Put that in the email to the coach. The coach is gonna be like, wow, this kid knows us. This kid knows, what you might want to study. I'm gonna go watch this kid. I'm already there with this kid. I don't even have to recruit her. She's already recruited me. Turn the process inside out, okay? Gain exposure at tournaments and showcases. You're in great position with Impact to have that capability to showcase what you can do. Again, identify the ID camps, the schools of your target list. You only have a limited amount of summers to work with. Really, it's only after your sophomore year and after your junior year, really. So, and you can't go to every ID camp. So you need to do your homework to know, where am I going to spend my parents' money or my own money if you guys work? Where should I spend my money to go? What's the most important camp to me? Which school do I like the best? Don't haphazardly approach this process. It's a waste when you do that because you have a finite amount of time to get it done. Highlight your unique value. Personalize your reason for attending. If you have an opportunity to talk to a coach after an ID camp, let them know you know what you're talking about. I want exercise science. I want to be an athletic trainer someday, and you guys have a great program. I'm excited about it. Awesome. Cultivate your relationships with college coaches and be genuine. They know you're looking at a lot of schools too, right? But if you can keep that contact with the coach, a lot of coaches will say to the kids that they like, let me know how you do. They play during the same time you do. Their seasons are the same time. It's hard for them to come out and see you, but they might say, hey, let me know how your big game goes on Saturday. Get back to them. Email them back. Hey, coach, we won 2-1 and I got a goal. I just thank you so much. I just want to let you know. And here's a clip. Like, just keep at it. And those are the kids that are going to get recruited. Be in front of them. Questions to ask college coaches. Have you seen me play in person? Some of these coaches might say, these are questions to ask for you to ask them. Where do I stand in the process with you? And even more specifically, how many roster spots will you have next year? How many kids you recruit in the class 2023? Am I one of your top recruits? If I'm not, what do I do to get to become one? I love your school. How could I want to play for you? What do I need to do? Go after it, guys. Right? What does your off-season commitment look like? Know that. That's important. Even Division III, it's a lot of time. It's a big pet peeve of mine when kids come and work with us and they're like, yeah, if I don't get a scholarship, I'll just play D3. Just play D3. It's so hard to play Division III, right? Some D3 schools can beat some D1 schools. Do your homework. Know the level within the level, right? Some D3 schools are so elite soccer-wise that it might be really hard for you to play there. But then there are some D3 schools that are really easy and then maybe your high school team could beat. You have to go and watch them play. You have to do your research. You have to see for yourself with your own eyes. You have to go to camps and see where you stack up. So make sure you do it. What type of academic support programs are there for athletes? My son at Notre Dame is complaining. He's like, Mom, they're making me go to study hall. I'm like, good, Jack. That's good, right? So you might have to do that. My best friend who played basketball at Bentley, she complained, I have to go to study hall and I did my homework. Well, you know what? There's resources for student athletes. Utilize them, understand what they are. If you're a student that needs the resources, that's a great question to ask a coach. What do you do for student athletes? Like if we're on the road for Division I and we're traveling a lot, do I get tutored? Is that part of what, my scholarship? Am I going to get extra help? But there's so much to ask. Just figure out who you are, what your needs are, and ask those questions relative to what you need. Ask if you can come for a visit. Official or unofficial, you can make an unlimited amount of unofficial visits on your dime. You could fly out, visit it 20 times. They don't care. But when it comes down to when you're being recruited, an official visit, you only get a certain amount. And a lot of them aren't doing the overnight visits due to COVID, but they still have official visits. And that's when they like wine and dine you, basically. You come in, they host you, maybe they take you to a game. you hang out with the team, you go to class, you kind of try on the school. That's important to know. And it's important for you guys to meet the team. The college coaches might not stay, but for the whole team to leave, it's not going to happen, right? So you have to see if you like the girls on the team, if you mesh with them. That's more important, honestly, than it is who you're playing for, because those college coaches they come and go. They're not guaranteed to be there. The coach that recruits you might not stay. So you're picking the school for the school, not for the coach. You know, scholarship level. Are there athletic scholarships available? That's a legit question. Division I, Division II school that's looking at you. Are you looking at me as a scholarship level player? You need to know. And that's what we help our kids know. Like, we get the list, right? We sometimes call coaches not to sell the kid, but just to get the skinny. Like, we just be like, hey, you told this kid you like him, which is awesome. We're working with this kid, but honestly, like, is she a scholarship level kid for you? Or where do you see her? Is she a walk-on? Like, where does she fall on your recruiting list? Are you recruiting me a scholarship to get that? If I'm a walk-on, what does that mean? There's different levels of that. Does that mean when you get there, you have to try out? Or are you a preferred walk-on? Do you have a roster spot? You're just not going to get money. So many questions. And are there any academic programs not open to athletes due to time constraints? The BU basketball coach years ago used to say, don't send any kids to me that want physical therapy. We travel too much with the clinicals. They can't play Division I sport and do PT. And that's not across the board, every school. That's something you have to research for every school you're looking at. If you know what you want to study, that's a question. Can I be a nurse? Can I be whatever, physician assistant and still play a sport? So do your homework.
Yeah, and if I could just add one more thing about how one-on-one contacts the college coaches, that's a huge piece. It's a bridge from the player to the college coaches, and the admissions coaches that Kim have contacts in the soccer world, in the sports world. So, it's easier for us as admissions coaches to reach out to a college coach, easier sometimes than a player to ask those direct questions, even though we want you to. So that bridge, I think, to me, is just invaluable. And that's definitely a huge takeaway for me working with Kim, is that where the player, there's student athletes advocate. And we don't sugarcoat the information going back either, because you need to know the truth and where you stand as a student athlete, because we want you to be happy and have the full picture. That's very important, because coaches have a job to do. But when you can get through all the layers and really understand where you fit, that's how you make your decision. Where do I fit? Am I really on the roster, or should I look somewhere else where I'm more valued? And those are some of the questions that Kim's group answers with you.
Yeah, really good point. We don't replace guidance, and we don't replace your coaches. I mean, if a college coach asks us for technicality, like how the kid plays, and I work with football guys. I don't know football. My husband's always like, how do you work with football kids? Like, you don't even know what you're talking about. I know coach speak, right? I don't need to know the ins and outs of how good this kid is. I'm just asking, coach, you saw the kid play. That's why coaches love talking to us, because we don't call them and say, hey, we have a kid for you that can play for you. First thing a coach is going to say to us is like, how do you know? Who are you? Like, and why have you seen us play? Like, I'm the one who tells kids who play for me. So we twist it. We make the call, and we're like, coach, we love your school for this kid academically, socially. You saw her play. Can you let us know what you think? Because she wants to try to play at the next level. We're trying to help the family identify the best overall match. Bang. That's it. So really important. And, if they ask about how you play and your skill level, we tell them to call the club coach. We're not going to talk about that. We don't see you at practice every day. What we understand is what Dina just said, is how this process goes together, right? Blending who you are academically, reading your transcript, understanding where your test scores are, where you fall on the academic profile for each of these schools without the sports piece. And then understanding when we blend that sports piece, how much more, desirable you are perhaps as an applicant, because that sport enhances it for you. Or maybe we're getting feedback it doesn't enhance it at all. And we rank the level of chance of acceptance for the schools that we have on your list. And sometimes we'll bump it up if we know that you're a hot recruit for that school. Sometimes if the feedback's not that great and they don't need your position, whatever, then it'll be ranked as a regular student without any special flag next to you. But maybe some other school it would be. So every school's different. There's so many variables, as you can tell. So we don't have to go through all this. You can see this: team-oriented, unselfish, confident. How do you become confident, you guys? You guys know this. You practice, right? You practice, you get better, you become a better player, your confidence goes up. No shortcuts. Same thing in this process. You practice. The practice in this process is doing the research. Who am I? What do I want? What do I like? Let me go to a city school. Let me go to a country. What do I want? What are my preferences? I don't know what they are. Let me get out there and see what's out there. That's when you become confident. When you talk to a college coach, you've done your homework. They're so impressed with that. They're like, you could say to them, oh, I've been to a lot of campuses. This is exactly what I want. I'm looking for an urban campus. I want to be able to, access internships. Like, they're so impressed with that. And that only happens, your confidence only happens when you do your research, and we help you with that. All right. Again, academics, so important, give you more opportunities athletically, the better you are academically. Make yourself recruitable. All right, we already talked about all the things you can do here. SAT versus ACT, do it earlier, maybe in 10th grade, middle 10th grade, take a practice test in both SAT and ACT, get the scores back, compare them, see which one you do better on, maybe scrap one and just focus on one test. You don't have to do both tests when you apply. Again, most of these schools are test optional, but it is nice to have the testing. Bowdoin, for instance, for years would say, we're test optional. For athletes, they weren't. You do the early read, the college coach would ask for your transcript and your senior courses and your list of activities and your test scores. And every kid I work with, like, what's up with that? The test optional. I'm like, not for athletes, right? So you have to kind of know the inside scoop with each school, so just make sure you have, Georgetown right now, like anyhow. You still have to take the test. You don't not take the test, assuming that every school you're going to be looking at is test optional, because there might be one that's not. So just go through the process. Testing timeline. It depends on where you're at as a student. I would say junior year is a good time to take the test if you have not had Algebra 2 yet. You don't want to test too early and get discouraged because you don't even have the content. You're looking at things on the test you haven't even been taught yet. It depends on the level of math. That's what I like to look at. For my son, or for other kids that we work with that are Division I kids, it's good to have an idea before the spring of your sophomore year. I know it sounds ridiculous, but like, we were going to Stanford and Duke, and I'm like, we're going to spend all this money for you to go to these camps. Are you smart enough to even get into these schools? Like, what is the point, right? Like, you have to know where you stand. So we had him take the test, and we got the information. We're like, oh, we can dip a little bit. If he comes up to this mark, we can help an athlete with that score. I'm like, all right, you're close enough. I guess it's worth our investment to go. All right, so they're all interconnected. So understand that. Everything you do is with intention, right? Academic floor for admission support. That's what I'm talking about. What is the lowest that they can help, right? If you can't get to that lowest bar that they can help support, what's the point of looking at that school? What's the point of going to that camp? If you're a C student and you need to be A's student in AP courses and get a 34 in the ACT and you're nowhere near that, why are you going to that ID camp? Unless you're going to that camp because there's another coach of another school that you're looking at that fits you, that's going to be working that camp, right? So that's another whole thing. We used to tell kids all the time, you look at an MIT, go to the Harvard camp. The MIT coaches at the Harvard camp. You have to know the insights. Ask the coaches, where are you going to be? You don't run a camp at your school. What do you work at any camps? Where can I go for you to see me? Be the squeaky wheel. Academic merit aid versus athletic scholarship. I said that right in the beginning. There's more money out there for academic scholarship than there is athletic. So do the best you can in the classroom. Test optional. Yep, we talked about that. All right. Yeah, we don't need this slide. I don't want to be discouraging, but it's hard to play at the next level. Just know it. Go for it if you want to go for it. But again, like I said, have a mixed list. Play club if you want. You don't let the ball rule the process. You don't want to have if you're told you're Division III, right? But in your heart, you want to go to a huge school. Most D3 schools aren't that big, except for NYU is 20,000. Okay, fine. But most of them are small, 5,000 or less for the majority of Division III schools, right? With an exception here or there. So you got to know, like, don't, again, have a mixed list if you really want to have big school list. All right. we got all this, register with NCAA, core courses, you're gonna look that up. Your school where you go to high school will let you know of the core courses. Every high school has their courses, has to be approved by the NCAA. So go see guidance and make sure that that's up to date, that the courses that you're taking on your transcript are being approved by the NCAA, because they have to update that every year. Your transcript is important. End of 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, those final grades count, like I said earlier. So just make sure that your transcript, you know what that looks like. Ask for an official copy. Before you apply to college, you absolutely should look at your transcript. God forbid there's something wrong with it. We've seen that happen, especially with COVID. You know, there's a withdrawn when it wasn't a withdrawn on the transcript. So just double check that. Oops, sorry. Amateurism status. Yeah, when you enter your senior year, you have to go back into NCAA eligibility account and sign what's called the amateurism form. Just saying I didn't play for money, like in the summer before. I'm not a professional athlete, whatever. So you just have to sign it. Understand the recruiting periods. Again, use them to your advantage. You're not going to understand every single rule. These college coaches don't even know all the rules, right? We run like a basketball showcase under one-on-one, and it took maybe 20 minutes the other day. I was talking to one of my Division II coaching friends, and she couldn't understand the recruiting calendar for basketball. She goes, I don't know what date you should do this tournament, because I'm not sure if we can come out and watch it yet. Let me just read this again. So understand it loosely to understand, like, okay, if I go to that tournament, can Division I and Division II schools, is it a viewing period for them? Because if you're going hoping to get seen and you get there and you're like, why is it just Division III schools here? That could be because it's a dead period, right? So just understand enough that you know who might be there, okay?
And that happened to us, just so everyone knows, because of COVID. When we ran our mixed club event, we can only have Division III coaches on the field watching. So we recorded it for the other coaches. But it is a big deal when you're picking the dates from an organizing standpoint, but you also have to know if you're paying money, who can watch you play.
Yep.
Very important.
And one other thing, that's such a good point, Dina, because kids always ask, is the chicken or the egg? Should I sign up for that showcase? What college coaches are coming? Well, the college coaches are saying the same thing. What kids are coming? Well, how about you all just come and everyone sees everybody, right? So how does that happen? You take control again. You go out and you say to the coach, because a lot of kids do it differently. Like, oh, I see what schools are listed at that showcase. I'll just email them because they're going. No, you email everybody you want to be there, because a college coach that might not be on that list might get your email and might say, hey, this kid looks great. I like her skills video. I want to see her play. Oh, she's going to be at that showcase. I wasn't going to go, but now I'm going to go because this kid reached out to me. Take control. Don't listen to other people. Oh, so-and-so is not going to be there. Ask them anyway. Play stupid. Like, oh, I didn't know you weren't going to go. Are you going to go? Maybe they'll go.
So if we can open it up for some questions, that would be great. I've been monitoring the chat. So I did put in the eligibility website. I put in the one-on-one website as well. There was a question on, is there a particular website or app that you recommend they use to build their own player profile?
We use WordPress. That's a great question. We use WordPress when we make the websites. I think it costs like $50 or so to get the domain, and we usually put the kid's name. Like my son is jackpenny2022.com, whatever it is, right? So make it easy, whatever the name is of the website that you make, so the college coaches can remember it. But yeah, we use WordPress. You can use Wix, there's Squarespace, there's a ton out there. It's not hard, but whichever one you decide to work with, as long as it's giving you the capability to upload documents, being able to put video on it, that'll work. Okay.
Anybody else a question? You can unmute yourselves now if you want.
Dean, I have a question if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So my student athlete, apologies, is at work. She's working her part-time job so she can afford, hopefully, to be at college at the next year, but she couldn't attend, so I'm here on her behalf. She is a 2022 athlete, and my question is there anything that she can do to better her chances with the fact that, again, there was somewhat of a lost year for her in last, from a recruiting perspective? And I'll
Yeah.
mute myself again.
Yeah, no, I mean, she, at this point, as a 2022, she's entering the application phase. As long as she's in communication with the coaches on her list of schools that she's interested in applying to and letting them know she's still available, that's big. You know, and there are some schools out there that might have some ID clinics in the winter that she can maybe attend. It's not, maybe not too late. It's hard. It's been very, very hard with COVID, with the disruption, of kids being seen. What I would say is have her reach out to the college coaches of the schools on her list and ask, like, coach, if I come, do you have open tryouts? How many kids do you take, or how many spots do you feel like you might be filling from as walk-ons? Maybe she can go in that route if she's not fully, getting a roster spot at this point. But again, I would look at, if she's not getting anything, I would say look at schools if they have club. There's a big difference between club sports and intramural sports. In the club sport, if the school offers club, it's going to be more competitive than intramural. Intramural is just really for fun, and they don't even practice. They dorm versus dorm. Club is a little bit higher level. They'll travel, and some schools will fund their club sports programs. They'll actually have coaches, and they'll have uniforms, and then there are some club sports programs that don't fund it, and it might be co-ed club, so she has to, I would do that second layer of research for all of her schools to make sure that they offer some sort of soccer that she can keep playing if she's not getting a spot.
Anyone else have a question? I know it's a lot, definitely, but I think, yeah, Kim, if you can put your last slide up, that would be great, so folks can then contact you as well. Listen, I have 2 children of my own, and I'm sending them to Kim Penney. I'm going to be completely honest, even though I work for Kim Penney, because it really is hard as a parent. There's a lot of parents on this call right now to be just kind of guide your own child is very difficult, I think, and to have someone be their advocate and listen to them and be the bridge is so important. So, you have to use the resources that are going to help you. And this is not, again, a recruiting service. I get that question a lot, but this is much more than that in looking at the total person, looking at academics first, social, and then the athletic pieces last. But we do have a question here from Michelle. When is it a good time for you to start working with a student athlete, Kim?
It depends on what the sport. You guys are soccer, so you guys are lucky, honestly, because it's a fall sport, so even so the former question, like your daughter's playing right now, so like have her reach out to coaches, and maybe, I don't know, maybe there's still a spot open, right? So she can use the fall right now to actively still get recruited. The spring sport athletes, I feel bad for them. Their spring season, senior year, it doesn't matter because they've already applied to college. They won't even help them, right? But for soccer, I would say the best time to start really would be sophomore year. If you really want to get the most exposure you can, club, I know is really a great opportunity to be seen. Club, there's more happening during club soccer than there would be in the high school season. And I'll be honest with you, college coaches want to talk to club coaches more so than high school coaches. Not that they don't want to talk to your high school coach. And I took offense when I was a high school coach. I'm like, why aren't they calling me, telling me, like, getting my advice? They know that a lot of high school coaches don't really know the whole college scene, right? Where club coaches do have more knowledge typically, where their kids can maybe play, right, in the college level. So I'd say sophomore year. You don't want to be stressed out. You don't want to be like, oh my gosh, we have to rush and get this list and we don't even know what we're doing. And just take it, everywhere you go, even these 8th graders on the call. If you go play at a camp or something, check out that school. Check out to see, do I like UNH? Do I like how the size of this? And try to start getting those parameters set so that when you build your list, maybe at the end of your sophomore year in high school, that you feel confident, like I've been looking around, this is what I want, so I'd say sophomore year. Dina, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, the earlier, the better to showcase yourself, but also paying attention to those ID clinics, I think is tremendous to do, because you're in their faces over multiple years. And there's a question actually in the chat from Lucy, who asked about like what position do I put down when I am looking at colleges, because she's a goalkeeper for Impact, but on the field for her high school team. And so I just had a conversation with kids. I work an ID camp at Endicott College, and I thought the player was more of, thought she was an offensive player. They moved her in the back, and I talked to her after. I go, "You're a defender," and I had the conversation. She's like, "Well, I play both," but she didn't put both on her sheet of paper. So don't sell yourself short. Put both your positions and let the coach move you around during that ID day to see you. I think that's what's really important, because you might have a phenomenal day on the field and not in goal. And then they're like, "Well, we want you because you're that field player that we're looking for." We have another question here. I'm starting to visit colleges, trying to see some games. If I go to a school, should I always contact the coach if I'm going? So if I can't make the game but still go to the school, should I contact the coach?
If it's a school that you've already vetted out that you like, that offers what you want to study, absolutely. Absolutely. You want to get credit for that. Say, "Hey coach, I came to your game. Congratulations. You guys won. You guys played hard." And just, not to be a kiss, but let them know. Let them know. We tell kids all the time, if you go to a school, even without the sports piece of it, check in with the admissions office so that they know you were there. Sign a card or just check in. Even if you don't do a campus tour, if you do a self-guided tour, just say, "Is there any way I can get on your mailing list?" Let them know, record it. It's demonstrated interest.
Absolutely. Sure. And I also want to point one other thing out. Kim's main office is in Wakefield, but most of the consulting is happening virtually through Zoom. So we have clubs across New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. So I just want South Shore as an example. Select was Alisa. So I just wanted everyone, or Anna, to make sure that if you are interested, that you could have Zoom sessions, which is also very convenient and definitely a positive from COVID. Okay, yeah. One more question from actually my good friend Caitlin McLeod, who I used to coach back in the day. Is it possible for a student athlete to play 2 sports? Any recommendations?
I love this question. If you're going to play a college sport, I think it's very hard to play 3 sports. I'm a big believer, and this is just my opinion, that it's nice to do cross training. It's nice to play another sport. In my opinion, I like athletes, right? Personally, I think playing 2 sports is good. Soccer, it's hard. I know it's hard with soccer because you get the spring and you get the fall, but I think it's really great to show skills in another area. And it's good for your muscles. It's good for your body to do something different and not always work out the same muscles all the time, right? My son that's at playing baseball at Notre Dame, he plays squash. College coaches loved it. They're like, great for hand-eye coordination, right? Something different, right? And it didn't impede what he did. As long as it's not impeding what you need to do to get seen for the level that you're looking to play at, right? If you're missing big national tournaments because you're playing another sport, that's kind of silly, right? I'm working with a football kid who's really talented, and he plays hockey and baseball too. And he's going to be, he just started his junior year, and he's getting good looks for football, and he wants to play football. And I said, "I'm sorry, buddy, like baseball's fine, but like you got to go to some, like the Under Armour national tournament, like you got to do stuff this winter." And how important is ice hockey to you? Like you're missing out on, recruiting events for the sport that you're trying to play at the next level. So you can't do everything, right? So to answer that question, I love 2 sport athletes. I think that's doable. Even to play a Division I sport in one of those sports, it's still doable in my opinion. But if you love soccer and that's all you want to do all 24/7, that's fine too. But I think it's nice to show some variety and some athleticism.
And some coaches too at the college level, Division III, sometimes people are like, "Oh, I can play 2 sports." But college coaches are very territorial about their players. So even myself, when I was coaching, if I had a soccer basketball player, we were playing well into November. Basketball starts October 15th. So really the basketball coach lost a whole month with that player. And so that's a discussion to have with the college coaches too, especially if it's an overlap season. I have seen at the Division III level, even Division I actually, a couple of kids who are playing soccer and then they're playing lacrosse. I have seen that a lot. But it depends on the coaches and the territory and who's recruiting you. And some college coaches do not want to share athletes because the off season is just as important you know, to stay in shape and also go over film for those programs. So it will depend, Caitlin. When you get closer to that, obviously you can contact me too, and I can help you out with that.
I just want to mention, I know we're talking long and I'm sorry, but there's something important to tell you. Division III, they can't tell you that you can't study abroad. And college coaches hate when I tell kids this, but it's so true. You're paying for your education. Yeah, you're playing your sport. You can go study abroad if you want to. It might be hard to come back and your spot might not still be there, but a college coach can't tell you you can't do that. And I'm not saying that your spot's definitely going to stay, but just know that when I was at Tufts and I told my coach after my sophomore year, I'm like, I'm going to miss 8 games because basketball spans both semesters, right? So I was just going for the fall, I was going to Ireland, and I'll never forget. I was shaking like a leaf. I'm like, I'm going to miss 8 games. She's like, you can't do that. I go, you don't pay me to play here. Yes, I can. That's why I came Division III. She's like, well, it's going to be hard for you to remake the team when you get there. I worked out, I was fine, and I was a captain senior year. You could do it if you really work hard. So don't feel like, you know, just because you play a sport, you can't do other things, especially at the Division III level.
Great, awesome. Well, Kim, thank you so much. This was amazing. I always learn something new. Even some of the words that you're using, I think is just incredible to kind of describe the process. The difference between early decision and early action always kind of resonates with me. It's really important to frame the strategy. So thank you so much for being part of our Impact Speaker Series. Again, if anyone has any questions, you can email me. You have Kim's contact information as well. Thanks for everyone who participated. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you so much, Kim. Thanks everyone for joining tonight.
Thanks, guys. Good luck with everybody.
Thank you.